Hey, Quad Bros, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Glad to have you guys here, and I hope you guys are doing well. Before we begin and before we say anything else, I'm going to tell you guys again, remind you, Twitch drops, twitch.tv/HeyQuadro. Get your butt over there. Get your cool Twitch drops. Get those cool sniper skins. Get all that cool stuff, silver orders, and so forth over there, twitch.tv/HeyQuadro. I'd love to have you guys over there. But about this video that we're getting into right now, 2022 is right around the corner, and I figured it'd be a good time to talk about what we might see in 2022 and what we'd like to see in 2022, or what I would like to see at least, right? I don't speak for all of you guys, from Enlisted in the next year. So let's get into that. Let's start off with content, what we'd like to see. I would personally like to see, of course, the levels go to 40. I think that's going to happen. I think that's pretty obvious. Campaign levels go to 40 for all of our campaigns that are in the game, right? It's already tracking that way. I imagine we'll probably have that by summer of 2022. But other things, I'd like to see a level revamp. I'd like to see things shifted around. I'd like to see things changed, because right now I think there's a lot of problems with these levels. I don't think it makes very much sense for the Americans to have Bren guns and things like that. I'd like to see M1919A4s. You know, there's tons of examples of this. I'd like to see Thompsons earlier than level 29 in Normandy. But most of all, I'd like to see side campaigns. I'd like to see, you know, the British represented in Normandy and not in the American tech tree. Instead of how we have it right now, where it's just one campaign, I'd like to see a system set up where you can play as the Brits and have a different campaign tree that is probably shorter, right? Maybe 20 levels rather than 40 levels. But it encompasses all the different British vehicles and it's separated, right? I think that would be a great way to implement you know, the Brits into the game and implement the British into the game. I think that would work really, really well. And, you know, let that faction be represented without having to, you know, take up a lot of room from the American campaign. Now, moving on to the big thing. Major full-fledged campaigns. What do we think we're going to see? What do we want to see? I personally really think there are only two campaigns, maybe a third, that would work in the game. Maybe three, maybe four, right? Like Poland, maybe. But the two major ones, the two ones that we absolutely are going to see, I cannot imagine we don't, are number one, France, and number two, the Pacific. Okay, of course, everybody is freaking out right now. They love the Pacific. Everybody wants to see the Pacific, and I do too. But personally, I really want to see France. I think France would be a really fun campaign. Really interesting to play in Enlisted. So I'm excited for that. And guys, I hate to disappoint you, but I do think France is going to be the next one. We just got the Moroccan squad in Tunisia, and they do have French voice lines, which means there's at least some effort being put in to doing that. And so I really do think we're going to be seeing France before we see the Pacific. And I know that is just the end of the world for you guys, but hey, it's all right. France 1940 is going to be a good time. It's going to be fun. And I think that it's how it should be, because I think that the Pacific has a lot of challenges that need to be kind of addressed and a lot of problems to be solved. And I think it might need a little bit more time in the oven and some time to cook before it will be able to be as great as it really deserves to be. So don't worry, we're going to be getting the Pacific. We all know that we will. It's just a matter of when. And I think it will be in 2022, maybe mid 2022, or maybe even a little bit later, like late 2022. But do we think we're going to get anything else? China, maybe the second Sino War campaign. I think that would work really well. I don't think that we should get anything like, you know, Stalingrad or Kursk or, you know, Market Garden or even the Battle of the Bulge, because a lot of these campaigns that people have really listed are just going to end up being repeat campaigns. They're going to be campaigns where you're unlocking the same stuff, and it's just going to serve to split the player base. For stuff like that, I'd like to see maps. I'd like to see events and the such, instead of full-fledged campaigns. Maybe even mini campaigns that are just 10 levels that are just like basically events or something like that. I think that would work well, but I don't want to see full 40-level fledged campaigns of the Bulge, because I think that's just going to be Normandy 2.0. But post-war, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get post-war in 2022. Maybe towards the end of the year we might see, I don't know, a Vietnam campaign, a Korea campaign. I think both of those would work really well in Enlisted. I'm not sure we're going to be getting anything like the modern conflict like we got in the event earlier, although I would like to see that event return. I think a lot of people had fun doing that. But nevertheless, I just don't think that we're going to be getting a truly modern campaign for quite a while. But I don't think that Vietnam or Korea are off the table for 2022. I think late 2022, it definitely could happen. Now, gameplay, guys, I'd love to see half tracks. I really would. I think half tracks would be awesome. I think that having like spawnable, like mobile rally points in half tracks would be super cool. I think a really open map and open campaign or something like that could work really well. Maybe have them map specific and you can design a big, huge map that's, you know, has higher tank limits or something like that. You know, lots of vehicles, maybe even a higher, well, it wouldn't work for a higher player limit because consoles. But regardless, I think that would be a lot of fun, and it would be very cool to have a bigger campaign map, a bigger map, and have, you know, half tracks that are like mobile spawn points. I think that would be really neat. I'd love to see those. Or just some sort of mechanized, maybe even Jeeps, like Jeeps with 30 cals on the back of them would be cool. Lots of options there, guys. Other things, I'd love to see SPAA. I think SPAA would be awesome. Self-propelled anti-air to deal with planes. I think that would be a great addition to the game and would really help the infantry deal with vehicles a little bit better, and also just offer some variety in vehicles. So instead of it just being tanks all the time, you get some more interesting stuff like SPAA. Another thing, more artillery options. Right now we've gotten smoke and we got HE, and we also had fireworks for quite a little bit there. I think they might still be in the game. And I would love to see more options here. I'd love to see mortar barrages. I'd love to see creeping barrages. I'd love to see napalm. Did World War II have napalm? I don't know. Anyway, I'd love to see a lot of stuff, right? There's tons of options. Creeping barrages, anti-tank barrages, you know, maybe like a really pinpoint barrage, but it's a small area, right? So many things that could be implemented into the game that would work really well and be a lot of fun. So I'd love to see that. I'd love to see more options for the artillery to really make that more interesting. Now, secondary objectives, I would also love to see. Airfield does secondary objectives right now. I think those would be really cool. I'd love more map-specific things like that. You know, whether it's a King Tiger that's destroyed on the map that you can take control of and use as like a bunker or even repair and drive around. I think that would be great. Or maybe like a, you know, KV-1 could also be that, or just like an 88mm flak gun that if you blow up, you get, you know, your team gets to call in an extra plane or something like that. Maybe at the beginning of the game, you only get a fighter, but then if you blow up the 88mm flak gun, then you get to spawn in and you guys get to spawn an attack plane or something like that. I think that would be cool. I'd love some more dynamic secondary objectives on maps rather than just kind of the sprint at the point and call it a day type deal. Now, I'd like better use of the AI as well. I think the AI right now are basically just meat sacks that you spawn into and take control of and then shoot people with. I'd like to see more interactions with stuff, be it, you know, an officer role that makes the AI more accurate, or a suppression, something with suppression that, you know, makes the AI scared and more inaccurate whenever they're being fired at by an LMG or something. I think there's a lot of options for more interesting dynamic gameplay with the AI, and I really do hope Darkflow kind of spices things up with that, because right now it's kind of boring, right? The AI aren't really just not that interesting. They're not effective and they're not really that good, right? And they're not really interesting. So love to see that. Now, on to balance, some balancing things in the game that I really think we need to see. Number one, I think there needs to be balancing between new players and late players. I don't know how they want to do this, if it's going to be a BR system or implementing some sort of system for like dealing with, you know, low levels, playing against high levels, you know, or reduced grind. There's a lot of ways to do this, but I think something needs to be done, because on new players, just like, if you're a new player in a Stewart, how do you fight a Panther? I mean, you just kind of can't, right? Like, what are you supposed to do? You just die? That's not fun. That just sucks, right? So I'd like to see something in regards to that. Speaking of, I'd like more communication and better communication, right? I like that we do dev blogs, but the dev blogs only come whenever an update is on the way. So maybe I'd like to see, like, you know, maybe less common or, you know, less frequent, but more, you know, spread out throughout like a patch cycle. So we can just see the developers' thoughts on what they're thinking about, right? Like, I feel like we got very blindsided by something like the semi-auto nerf, and while I don't necessarily disagree with the nerf, it just felt very sudden, and I think that was kind of a big point of contention in the community, where people just didn't expect that to happen. And if we would have seen the developers talking about that, and we would have kind of been warned about that, it would have been a lot better, right? Now, about squads and firepower, I think that we have an issue in the game, and this is something that a lot of World War II games have a problem with, and it's that the firepower in squads is just so high that when you get to late game, and if you'll see this if you play custom games with me and in my stream and with people in my Discord and stuff, the custom games get so wild because of how much firepower a standard infantry squad has. Right, they just do so much damage and can wipe an entire squad. And I think one of the really cool things about Enlisted is having these really drawn out fights where you're kind of like, you know, maneuvering your AI around and switching into your AI and just playing in the right positions and having long drawn out engagements. And these AVSs and AVTs and FG42s, they just end up wiping entire squads so fast that you don't get that satisfying kind of long engagement, and you're just staring at a respawn screen a lot. And that can be really frustrating. Finally, I think grenades and explosive packs need to be tweaked. I'd like to see more asymmetrical balancing there. There's no reason to use a grenade right now instead of an explosive pack. Maybe explosive packs could be changed to be AT grenades. While grenades are, you know, more of the anti-infantry variety. I think that would be cool. But right now, I don't know why you would ever use a grenade instead of an explosive pack, and I think that should be remedied. Events. I'd love to see more events for the game. I think there actually are a decent amount of in-game events that happen, and that's great. But I'd like to see more out-of-game events. I'd like to see double XP weekends every once in a while. Maybe 1 weekend a month is a double XP weekend. It's not going to break the bank, right? It's not going to make people stop playing because they're going to grind too fast. If anything, it's going to drive up engagement and make people want to buy more premium squads and things like that because they're advancing through the game. I think double XP weekends is a great idea, and I'm kind of disappointed that they haven't been implemented yet. Like to see more Twitch drops. Twitch drops have been such a blast this last weekend. People who would never have come to my stream and never have chatted with me have, you know, come over and, you know, checked out the game and seen my content and, you know, I've become, you know, closer with the community. And I think that's a big deal. And I think it really drives a lot of engagement for the game and drives a lot of interest in the game, right? I've had a lot of people that have come back because they've seen me streaming to these, you know, for these drop events, and they're like, wow, they're doing the drop event. Well, maybe I'll come back and play the game. I'll check it out a little bit. And so it helps returning players, it helps current players, and I'd like to see more drop events, not just once every patch. I really think they should be happening a lot more frequently than that. Finally, guys, this will be quick here. Progression. I'd like a better experience for the grind. It needs to be reduced. I'm not going to talk about this a bunch. I have many videos talking about this. I rant about it every stream. It needs to be reduced. Reduce it. Figure it out. Do something. Okay? Needs to be a revamp of levels. Again, I've talked about this a lot. The Thompson should not be a level 29. The M3A1 does not need to be in the game, right? Stop putting in so many repeat levels. Stop doing all of this, you know, filler level BS. It hurts the game. It really does. It hurts the experience. It hurts the grind. Stop doing it, please. All right? My solution for this, or something I would like to see, is more non-linear progression. And what I mean by that is our current system, everybody levels up the exact same, and you're always leveling up in the exact same way as everyone else, right? You go level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. I would like to see a non-linear system where you get to choose what you are unlocking. So for example, if you want to, you know, follow the assault tree and you get to unlock, you know, new assault weapons and new assault squads and upgrade your assault squads and things like that, I think you should be allowed to do that. Right? Or if you want to unlock new vehicles, you follow down the vehicle path, right? Maybe, you know, almost like War Thunder, right? War Thunder has your SPAA path. It has like your tank destroyer path. It has your main battle tank path, your light tank, your medium tank, your heavy tank. It has all this stuff. I'd love to see that for Enlisted with assaults, gunners, AT, you know, so on and so forth. I think that would really help the game and help the grind, because it wouldn't feel like, you know, you're just grinding for stuff you don't care about. Right? You're actually grinding for stuff you do care about. You're grinding for stuff that you want. And so it ends up working out a lot better, I think, in that regard. But that's it for me, guys. Those are the things that I'd love to see from Enlisted. Thank you guys for watching this video. And thank you guys for watching all my videos over the past, you know, year, 10 months, 4 months, 1 month, 1 day, however long you guys have been here. I do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I'm very proud to be a part of this community. I'm very glad to be a part of this community, and this has been a really wild ride for me over the past year or so. And I'm looking forward to the next year of Enlisted. I think it has a bright future ahead of it, and I'm very much so looking forward to sharing that experience with all of you guys. It has been absolutely amazing. So Remember, like, comment, and subscribe. I do appreciate it. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on what you want to see from Enlisted in the coming year or years even, right? Come to twitch.tv/HeyQuadro. Get your drops. Get your stuff. All those goodie bags and things. And guys, you can also join our community Discord. The link for that is down in the description below. I don't have anything else for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Take it easy.